PaperMC may soon need to get a new domain for their website. And it's not just them. Even popular payment platform TabX, which is used very often by Minecraft servers, and GitHub may have to change up their domain. Now, even though the chance of this actually happening is rather small, it is definitely not zero, which is kinda scary. And this all has to do with the .io domain extension. So, let's talk about what's going on. Also, do make sure to double check if you're actually subscribed to the channel. The vast majority of my daily viewers are still not, and I would appreciate it a lot if you did. Okay, so first up, let's go over some of the basics. It is important to know that not all domain extensions are created equally. There are two main types of domains. There are GTLD domains, and then there is CCTLD. GTLD stands for Generic Top-Level Domain, and these are global domains that anyone can register. So for example, .com is a GTLD domain. .net is as well, .org is a GTLD domain, .xyz, .app, .bot. A general consensus is, if a domain extension has 3 or more letters, it is a generic domain. There might be some exceptions, but in most cases, this is true. And then there are CCTLD domains. These are country code top-level domains. And like the name might suggest, these domains are tied to countries. So for example, .uk is United Kingdom, .gp is Japan, .ca is Canada. And essentially, every 2-letter domain extension is a country code top-level domain. So if you see a domain with only 2 letters, you can assume that it is a domain tied to a country, even though it may not be used for anything related to that country. So a great example, if you look at the description of this video, you will see a link that says kasai.gg. So you might wonder, Kasai, does that mean that .gg is a domain extension tied to a country? Well, yes. It is tied to the, I'm gonna try to pronounce this, Bailiwick of Guernsey. But yeah, Bailiwick of Guernsey is a self-governing British crown dependency. And you can see that their ISO country code is GG, which means their internet TLD is .gg. Now, of course, the vast majority of the gaming community doesn't actually live there. But every single country can completely decide themselves what they want to do with their domain. .gg is very popular among gamers because .gg also means good game. Bailiwick of Guernsey saw this and decided to make it so that anyone around the world could register a .gg domain. It became very popular in the gaming community, and nowadays so many platforms are using it. If you go to modrinf.gg, you will go to modrinf servers. If you go to essential.gg, you will go to the website of the Essential mod. And then there is of course Discord, which may be the most well-known example of a company using .gg, where they use it for all of their invite links. But yes, at its core, .gg is just a country code top-level domain, in the same way that .nl or .uk are. And you might feel it coming already, but .io, of course, also has 2 letters, and it also very much is a country code top-level domain. The story is quite similar to .gg. While it officially is a CCTLD, online it has a completely different purpose. While .gg is used as in good game, .io is usually used as input-output, and therefore it is very often used by companies who do things with coding and APIs, and also lots of browser games. So you for example got itch.io, slither.io, and GitHub also uses their github.io domain for many things, not their main website, but if you've ever done something through GitHub, you've most likely seen the github.io domain at least a couple times. And don't forget about Paper, whose website domain is papermc.io. But now the whole problem, why is .io in trouble? Well, the country that .io is tied to may soon not exist anymore. So .io doesn't stand for input-output, instead it stands for Indian Ocean, part of the British Indian Ocean Territory. You can see their ISO code is IO, which means their internet TLD is .io. But now, what's going on? The United Kingdom has announced that it will eventually cede the British Indian Ocean Territory to Mauritius. Sorry, I probably mispronounced that as well, but this basically means that the United Kingdom is going to transfer the islands islands inside of the British Indian Ocean Territory to another country, which then means that the British Indian Ocean Territory will cease to exist. And if a country doesn't exist anymore, it doesn't need a domain. And because ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, who are by the way the guys who manage all of these domains, always look at the ISO list and make country codes accordingly, according to their own rules. As soon as the British Indian Ocean Territory ceases to exist, they have to retire the domain extension. So yes, the IO domain extension may not exist anymore soon, because the country that it's tied to may no longer exist or may no longer have the same name. What does this mean for the future of .io domains? And will they all disappear soon? Well, the reality is currently we still don't know what is gonna happen. But there are a few things we do know. First up, .io domains are immensely popular. In 2021, which was 5 years ago, there were already 270,000 domains registered with a .io extension. This 100% has increased a lot in the meantime. It could even be up to 1 million by now. We don't exactly know, but it's definitely gonna be a lot. This means that the .io domain in general is also worth a lot. I mean, so many people have a .io domain and they actively pay for it, so it is just a very valuable asset. The country that owns the CCTLD, they will also earn the revenue. So for some of these, like the IO domain and the .gg domain, these are big revenue streams that they don't want to lose out on. At the same time, ICANN would kinda have to break their own rules if they would like to keep the .io domain around. There are a few things that can really happen. One of them is that as soon as the British Indian Ocean Territory disappears from the ISO list, that ICANN will, quote-unquote, sunset the extension. This means that no new registrations will be allowed, and that it's gonna slowly migrate away and slowly disappear over the course of like 5 or 10 years. What could also happen is that it will just get special treatment. Because it is immensely popular, Maltesius could keep the .io domain as kind of a secondary domain. And the last option is that IO would get completely rebranded. So it would stay around, you could still register it, but it will basically shift from a CCTLD, so tied to a country code, to a GTLD, aka a generic domain. But this is easier said than done. Like mentioned before, essentially all generic top-level domains have 3 or more letters. So to suddenly convert .io to a generic top-level domain, that's not that easy. There are lots of policies and things that would have to be rewritten to make that happen. So, yeah, interesting story. .io is not gonna disappear overnight. It absolutely is not. But if the British Indian Ocean Territory ceases to exist, because the islands will no longer be in British hands, which is expected to happen somewhere this year, and if ICANN would strictly follow their own rules, that would mean that .io will get sunset and might not be around in 5 or 10 years from now. That is the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is that Maltesius will just kinda take over the .io domain, and it will just continue to exist as it has been until this point. So don't panic. There's no immediate reason to panic, but it is something to keep in mind. If you're gonna start a website soon or a cool project, you might want to think twice about getting a .io domain. Maybe in a couple months, it's all gonna be fine, as soon as the future of the .io domain is certain, but currently, it is still kinda scary and kinda unstable, so think twice before getting it. This video had very little to do with Minecraft, except for some major Minecraft projects like PaperMC being affected by this. I still thought it was a very interesting story though, so I wanted to share. That will be it for today though. Do make sure to subscribe to the channel if you've not done so yet. Also join my Discord, and thank you so much channel members. And then I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye, see you later, bye bye!